806 days without a connected punch. Last night, Aflalo and Bielitsa, which Bielitsa explained like this: I have to protect myself and my family. Family, guys. Like he's Liam Neeson in Taken 4. So we have family for this one. We have free agent scoring for Paul and the Clippers. Simmons and Lowry, Ibaka and Johnson, their own schoolyard reasons. All that just in the last week. What is happening in the NBA right now, Ramona? And where is Commissioner Adam Silver in all this?
Well, there's a lot of issues here. One, there's an issue with the players and the refs, and they're not seeing eye to eye. Draymond Green is just flat out being fined for saying I can't talk to these guys anymore. Carmelo Anthony says, I'm done with these guys. That is, to me, the biggest issue here. Aaron Aflalo and that haymaker that he threw and did not connect with, fortunately, did not connect with. Everybody knows you can't throw a punch in the NBA. Adam doesn't need to address this. They just need to suspend him for multiple games.
You say everybody knows that, but it's been 4 punches thrown in the last, 4 days?
Yeah.
Is that right?
And everybody should be suspended. And maybe these suspensions need to go up and they need to get higher. But to me, the issue, the mistrust between the players and the refs is another level right now. And it's happening because you have superstar players who are leading this charge, right? And the refs are seen as having hair triggers with technical fouls right now and teeing everybody up. And when you lose trust between refs and players, that to me is a major issue.
That's interesting. And I'll turn to you now, Adande. Because the biggest problem has been players versus refs until players versus players. Do you think all the strife we've seen between players really makes the league reconsider the players and the players versus refs battle?
It should. If anything, it's stirring up passions from the old school fans of 90s basketball. Say, yeah, that's basketball the way I remember it, when guys would get in and fight with each other. So that there's a component that actually wants to see it this way, first of all, that likes the chippiness. You heard the announcers reacting. Reggie Miller, for example, saying he likes the chippiness in that Clippers-Rockets game. So, therefore, Adam Silver should not really step in and impose his will. Another reason why is he's built up such a good relationship with the players in which he's made them feel like they're all partners in this. They're in this together. So for him to come in with some type of authoritarian, dictum that we're not going to fight anymore, this is the way that I'm going to make it, no need for him to do that. Yes, there should be some behind the scenes. There should be the duly amount of fines. But let Kiki Vandeweghe handle all the discipline, and Adam Silver should stay.
He's awfully busy the last 4 days. Israel Gutierrez, your view of yet another fight last night?
Well, here's the thing, J.A. This is more than just hippiness. And Ramona, this is more than just any punch. This was a haymaker that, had it landed, would have been ugly, not just for Aflalo and Bielitsa, but also for the NBA. Okay, it would have been potentially an NFL type of injury right in the middle of an NBA floor. And this is where I think that some of these big swings come in, okay, whether they, most of them miss. But I think that players have this reputation, right, of being the fake tough guys. Oh, they never get into a fight. It's always hold me back, hold me back. So when you get the sort of real tough guys out there and they said, I'm not going to have that reputation. If somebody messes with me, I'm taking this big swing. That's the mentality you have to cut out. It's okay to have that chippiness. It's okay to have the hold me back mentality. The fans know it's great. They know they're not going to see anything violent or disturbing. This was problematic. It deserves more.
Again, I say Bielitsa after the game, an attack on his family. His family? In the middle of that, this was an attack on his family.
I have another question here is, what do you have to do to not get punished in this situation? He got swung at hard and basically just held Aflalo's head under his arm, and he's going to get in trouble for this.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. It could have been a DDT. He didn't pull the trigger on that. Clinton Yates on the fight last night.
This is where the NBA has a bit of an identity issue. Do you want to be the league that has no fighting whatsoever and is throwing people out of games for one small move, or do you want to be the league that all the old school guys are saying is supposed to be sort of a tough guy kind of thing? I think the rules are way too stringent in general, but this is all on the players. The refs players situation is a completely different circumstance than how guys get punished for fighting. I would like seeing more fighting, just me personally, but the league has to figure out who do you want to be from an identity standpoint.
Oh, there's different types of fighting, right? There's the full haymaker punches, and then there's the hold me back, which, I mean, we've seen all along. But, Ramona, I got to go back to you. You still think this is about players versus refs when we've seen players versus players, 4 times in the last 4 days?
No, look, I mean, obviously the going into another team's locker room is a precedent-setting thing that I think we're going to see addressed. I think there will be a suspension. I don't know if there's going to be as many suspensions as you think are going to happen from that. But to me, the issue with the refs is about trust. And the refs have been under assault for a number of years here. Their decisions are reviewed. We get 2-minute reports. They've been questioned more than ever. So they're already feeling vulnerable. They already feel like they don't have the league's backing. When you don't have the respect of the players, it's much harder to keep players off of each other. The refs are the people who are supposed to be breaking all this stuff up there. But if they don't have the authority, they're not able to do their jobs.
All right, well, we'll move on. We've been horned. We've talked about this for 3 days in a row. I don't think we're going to get to the bottom of fighting in the NBA right now until we hear from Commissioner Adam Silver. So let's talk about actual basketball. Pelicans 116, Celtics 113 last night. Big win in Boston. And Anthony Davis, 45-16. And over his last 2 games, 93-33. J.A., what are we seeing from Davis here, and how far can he take this?
So what we're not seeing things that we haven't seen before. He already has the most of these 40-15 type games than anyone since Shaquille O'Neal in the early 2000s. So he's shown the capability of doing this. What we need to see more of is consistently avoiding injury, playing for long stretches. And I have one small request. I'd like to see him win a playoff game before we anoint him the next this or that. I think he has it in him, but until he does it, we can't start talking about his place in the NBA hierarchy until we see him playing into May and June.
Israel Gutierrez?
I think this guy is great, and the only thing he has to avoid is those injuries. And I don't know if he can or if he will, but you're talking about Shaq type of dominant numbers. You're talking about a guy who put up these numbers when he had almost nobody playing around him. Now he's got a DeMarcus Cousins. Now he's got a Rajon Rondo who can feed him the ball. Now he's got Drew Holiday out there to spread the floor and make some plays. And now you're seeing these types of games back to back, possibly to back. And this is the type of great that this guy is. Now, if you want to project what he can do with this team, just putting this team into the playoffs and getting a taste, and yeah, probably winning a game, J.A. or 2, I think is going to just propel him to the next step. The thing about AD that a lot of people don't recognize is he doesn't want to go anywhere. He's good enough, and he knows he's good enough to stay there and have people come play with him to win championships. So if he can elevate this team one step to the next and then needs help to go to that elite level, then they're going to come to him. He's not going anywhere.
Clint Yates.
Yeah, but let's see that happen before we start talking about this guy as some sort of transcendent player. When he came into the league, that big man who was outside, could shoot the three, had a little touch, that was a bit of a novelty. People weren't used to seeing that. Now, those guys are all over the place. So Anthony Davis, to me, putting up the numbers is, sure, it's great. But until I see the Pels actually do something, I'm just going to consider him one of the next great big men in that generation of guys, because that's really all he is at this point.
Ramona?
Well, what you're seeing is a guy backing up his words, because 2 weeks ago, he did a story with Adrian Wojnarowski saying, you know, I love New Orleans. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to win here. And it was laying the groundwork for him to then turn around and say, if we don't win here, I want to go someplace else because I need to win, right? I don't know anything different. What he's doing, you've put that out there, you say that is a shot across the bow at the Pelicans, and they hear that loud and clear, and it is their worst nightmare, right? This is their franchise guy. But you know what? He's backing it up. You put it out there, you better play like a franchise player, and he is right now.
Israel back in?
Clinton, he is not one of those other bigs. He's not Kristaps Porzingis. He's better than that. He is the complete package and still getting better.
Well, let's talk about the complete package. In the Giannis versus Davis, who do you want for the next 10 years? You're a GM. Adonde, Davis, no playoff wins. Giannis, I think they went 6 games with the Raptors last year, so I guess that's 2 playoff wins, but it's not winning in the first round. So who are you taking in your 10-year plan?
Well, even though the league is going toward three-pointers, and Anthony Davis actually has more threes than Giannis this season, I'm still going with Giannis because he can set up other guys to make three-pointers, and he'll develop a shot too.
I'm going with AD because he can actually make three-pointers. Giannis, as good as he is not an outside shooter.
Gutierrez?
I'm going with AD too because, like I said, he is still improving.
And Clint Yates?
Giannis, he's more marketable, and I just think he's meaner and has a better motor.
Better mean.
Move on. Headline 3, the Steelers firing offensive coordinator Todd Haley today. Looks like they're going to promote their quarterback coach. Report from Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, that some team partners are lobbying Pittsburgh Steelers ownership fire Mike Tomlin. Clinton, a lot to sink your teeth into here. Firing an OC after scoring 42 in a playoff game. But also the season they just had, the home loss they just had to Jacksonville. Could Tomlin get fired here?
It sounds crazy because the Steelers are sort of one of those bastions of stability in the NFL, but I think that it would be fair to get rid of him at this point. Look, you've had your run. He's got his Super Bowls. Not everything has to last forever. His decision-making at the end of that game and what happened with the coaches regarding that Jacksonville stuff was unforgivable in some minds. And again, they had a good run. Sometimes you got to move on. I think this might be one of those cases.
Whoa, unforgivable loss, says Yates. Losing to Jacksonville at home. You believe the Steelers underachieved this year, I think, is the headline.
Absolutely.
Okay. Israel, do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I really do. Now, I don't think he should be fired. I think to think that it's crazy that he should be fired is actually crazy. Because if you look at this offense and look at the talent on there, they underachieved, like you said, Tony. If you look at what they did coaching-wise, they utilized the play-action pass less than anybody else in the league, and they arguably have the best running back in the league. That doesn't really make a lot of sense in terms of a coaching tactic. So, yes, he should be examined as part of why they're underachieving. Do I think it's bad enough for him to be fired? No, of course not, because if you can win 11, 10, 11, 13 games, as a fan, you're going to pray for that, and you're going to hang on to that as much as you want, because there are too many Cleveland Browns and Miami Dolphins fans out there telling you the opposite, that it's terrible to be bad.
John, where are we with the Steelers right now, and would firing Tomlin be a move you could see they make?
Well, who's saying this anonymously? The limited partners. When you think of the Steelers, do you think of the limited partners, or do you think of the Rooneys? And when you do think of the Rooneys, the correct answer, by the way, you think of continuity, and you think of Chuck Noll to Bill Cowher to Mike Tomlin and the consistency they've had there. And oh, by the way, Tomlin has the best regular season record of that group. He has the same Super Bowl record as Cowher, 1-1, and he's managed to win consistently, even though it's Ben Roethlisberger always in the lineup, is Le'Veon Bell always in the lineup, Brown always in the lineup. Injuries, suspensions, whatever, he deals with it, continues to win. Maybe changing the Haley.
And let's take a bigger picture of the season they just had. They have the best weapons at running back and wide receiver in the NFL. They had a year, if you remember the start of the year, of course, Le'Veon Bell didn't want to work in the start of the season. And then the anthem protests for this team more than any was really under a microscope, if you remember that. Now throw in a playoff loss at home where the final score is 45-42 to Jacksonville, Ramona. And how do you see Mike Tomlin as coach of this team?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, have I been on the show long enough that I'm now no longer a limited partner? I think I'm a full partner in the show,
Limited
right?
partners. I didn't even understand that because for me it is the Rooneys that are the face of the Steelers, and
Correct.
who are the limited partners?
The limited partners are just dudes who put in some money and get to sit in the suites. Like, shut up. You don't have any decision making here. I mean, look, Mike Tomlin's been the Pittsburgh Steelers coach for 11 years, and they've never had a losing season. Le'Veon Bell had a holdout. Martavis Bryant wanted to be traded in the middle of the season. Everything that happened with Ryan Shazier. I mean, that was just devastating to that defense, right? Ben Roethlisberger's talking about retiring the anthem protest you mentioned. This guy got them to a 13-3 record, and at the end of the year, the defense didn't show up. They didn't lose that game because of the last couple of minutes. They lost because they couldn't stop anybody all games. So stop. This is Mike Tomlin.
13-3 is an enormous record. Having the home playoff game and losing. There was a stretch in the middle of the season. They were winning a lot of games on a kick in the last seconds of game. I think they won 4 or 5 games with a kick in the last minute. So 13-3 may have been a little bit of fool's gold for this team. We're going to take a break right here. No fool's gold for Ramona Shelburne, 15 points. Toughest thing on the Jaguars on WEEI's Kirk and Callahan. Ramona, buy or sell? Best team they faced all season.
Yeah, I buy that Tom Brady is saying what his team needs him to say, but also I think what the Jaguars need to hear, Jaguars love being the underdog, and they're just showering them with praise. My goodness, you see Matthew Slater saying, God created cornerback, and there was Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they're just going over the top with that.
Okay, Dade?
I'm buying Tom Brady thinking they're great from his perspective because when he watches films of the Jaguars defense, he sees a team that's first in fewest passing yards allowed. They're second in interceptions, second in sacks. So, yeah, he sees a pretty formidable opponent looking across that line.
Israel?
I love hearing it from Tom Brady in particular because when we talk about this league, the easy way out is always to say, oh, the quarterback is so necessary, you can't win without a quarterback. Here you have the best quarterback ever telling you this is the best team we've played, despite the fact that their quarterback, and he's not saying this, but their quarterback is not even close to good. So, yeah, I like him praising the rest of that team.
Yates.
Absolutely buying it. I mean, look at how they beat the Steelers. They're the hottest team in the league, and they won the psychological battle as well. They've got to hear this. It's a bit of a Jedi mind trick from Tom Brady, sort of puffing him up. But, yeah, that Calais Campbell factor is a major one.
Buy or sell 2. No Isaiah Thomas video tributes. Just beat Paul Pierce night next month in Boston. The amount of oxygen we've spent on this over the last 2 weeks, but it's worth it. Pierce said the only reason why the Celtics were doing it for Thomas, by the way, was guilt over trading him. Consider this one another freak as the NBA, of course, with no connected punches, unless you count Rajon Rondo, and the only shots he hits are at other people. Because he threw major shade on the idea that Thomas even earned a tribute video from Boston. Jay, buy or sell it all?
I'm buying Isaiah Thomas being the biggest man here, ironically, and publicly letting everyone off the hook for this incident. I'm selling the notion that the Celtics feel compelled to honor him with a video because of the way they did him last summer. Did the Clippers feel compelled to honor Chris Paul? They accommodated his request. They still gave him a video.
Israel.
I just need to hammer this point home to Paul. Paul, you choose how you feel in that time where Isaiah Thomas would be getting said tribute video. You can either choose feel selfish because somebody else is getting some applause, or you can choose to be happy for someone who's getting that same applause that you got from those fans over the course of your career. There's nothing but negativity coming from that other way. You're doing the wrong thing.
So you think Paul Pierce was fill in the blank, small to selfish? Selfish is the word Israel uses. Clinton, how about you?
Definitely buying Pierce's Cazal glasses. Those were tremendous. Selling everything else from the Celtics. They never should have let it get to this point. You don't have to ask Isaiah Thomas when he wants his memory or his video. Just do it and get on with it. They botched this completely. And now they got a mess on their hands.
Ramona.
Look, this is Paul Pierce gets his night. That's it. This is his last night. He gets to say whatever he wants, and I'm all for stars being selfish. That's how you get to be a star.
Israel, you're still shaking your head no. Go ahead.
Different type of selfish. You can be selfish to be the best person you can be. This is just selfishness to not let Isaiah have something. I agree the dates were a mistake, but come on, man. It's 90 seconds. Let the fans have that, not time.
Careful, Israel. Paul Pierce may walk in or may roll in a chair any moment in Los Angeles. It's possible. They just might roll him in there. That's how he arrives at the set every day.
Hey, when you had your radio show, did your name go first, Izzy? It was Izzy in Spain, wasn't it?
Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer, right? I mean,
of course.
Okay, we'll move on. Buy or sell three. Spurs announcing Kawhi Leonard out indefinitely again. Still the quad. You can see R.C. Buford there talking about significant progress here. But this is the same injury that made him miss, first month and a half, 2 months at the start of the season. And this is an injury that dates back to last playoffs. What are you buying and what are you selling from this, Israel?
Well, I'm buying the idea that it's a good time for it because everybody thinks the Warriors going to win the championship anyway. Might as well get Kawhi right. Also, the Spurs have been winning with him, without him, with a half version of him. They're going to be fine as long as they go ahead and make him 100%.
See what?
Take his time.
Buying the fact that this is a huge problem. He's the face of the team, and there was a time when people called him the best two-way player in the league. If you don't have that guy, your team is not as good, and I think that's a huge issue if you can't get over this injury.
Shelburne?
Yeah, I'm buying the Spurs okay with this right now, but he's due for a max contract coming up here, and if you're going to be a max contract guy coming off a season like this, you might have some issues.
You thinking the Spurs wouldn't give him max money because he missed 40, 50, 60 games this year? Really? Jay, how about you?
A little leverage.
Telling you, halfway through the season, he's still not right. And how are you going to reincorporate him with LaMarcus Aldridge, who's having his highest usage rate as a Spur? Now he's got to give that up when Kawhi comes back?
I think it's the same thing that we talked about with Mike Tomlin earlier. If the Spurs aren't going to give him max money, I think there's 28 other teams who are ready to. Same with Mike Tomlin if the Steelers were to fire him. Gutierrez, Quincy Ace, tight one today.
Play the tribute video.
Tribute video. We don't have a video for Israel or Yates. We do for Shelburne or Donde. We call it 30 seconds of FaceTime in Showdown. Well, when he had 43 points, he was Steph Curry. When he had 22 assists, he was Steve Nash. He had 12 turnovers last night and an 18-point loss to Kansas State. So who is he today, Ramona?
He's a guy who's doing too much. All those guys who have the ball in their hand and they're playmakers, they tend to push the line and get a lot of turnovers. Steve Nash would always lead the league in turnovers. Trae Young's no different.
Yeah, today he could be LeBron James or James Harden or Russell Westbrook. Take your pick because they're all in the top 4 in the NBA in turnovers, and they're all guys that you'd want on your team, MVP candidates. So if he turns the ball over and still continues to do all the other things he's doing, I'll take him on my team.
Okay. No alarm from either one of you for leading the country in turnovers. We'll split the points. We'll move on. Showdown 2. Derek Jeter wants to get rid of the Marlins home run sculpture. Jay, should it stay or should it go?
Go and do what? What are you going to do? You going to put it by Coco Walk or something in Miami, put it on South Beach outside Primo 12? You might as well leave it there. It'll probably cost more to move it than it would be to do anything else. They're not going to spend a lot of power on it this year because they're not going to hit a lot of home runs with Stanton gone.
Yeah, I'm all for anything that doesn't allow Derek Jeter to get his way. He doesn't deserve that. And look, that whole stadium is ridiculous. I think the sculpture is ridiculous. But just own who you are. That's what it was built for. They got it like an aquarium behind home plate.
They're worried about how much money it's going to take to get it out of there. Just break it up into pieces, and Jeter can give it out with a gift basket. We'll get Ramona Shelburne the points and the face.
All right, well, if you haven't read the Outside the Line story yet on Larry Nassar, who is the doctor who was accused of sexual assault of a lot of gymnasts go all throughout the years, please go and do that. What's happened over the years in this country where people do not say things, where they know what's happening. There's a lot of people who has enabled this kind of behavior who see it and are afraid to speak, or who see it and just look the other way. That story from Outside the Lines really traces how this all happened. And I know we go to sports because we want to escape all this, but do yourself a favor, read that, understand what happens in this world, and let's hope we can help this from happening ever again.
It's a tenet of time's up. It's time to listen to these stories, even if it makes us uncomfortable.